Jamie, you and Roy feel comfortable to ask questions anytime that you want to. Okay, everybody else knows that. So, today is Sunday. Um, what? I didn't even check the date to see what it is. The 20th, Sunday, the 20th of August, and that this is 4 o'clock in Thailand and about 10 a.m. in the UK. Um, and so, for Roy's sake, we're going to go back to the very basics. Now, to be honest with you, the very basics is all there is to the teachings of the Buddha. It's very simple. If you can understand just the very simple parts of it, that will take you as far as you ever need to go. And what do I mean by that? As far as you need to go? Well, that's up to you. If you can start understanding what your needs are and stop having any needs, then you don't need to go anywhere and you're already there. So that's basically what the teachings of the Buddha is all about. But in Western Buddhism, they think that there is a lot of attainments and a lot of places to go. And that's part of the reason why Western Buddhism doesn't get anybody anywhere, is because they think that there's some place to go. I know that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about it in this way, that the basic teachings of the Buddha is really nothing much to it. It's the ability to see what's going on mostly inside one's own mind, and to make a change. That in fact everyone here is change oriented. That's the reason why people become interested in Buddhism, is because they want to change something about themselves. But that's also true that when people go into politics, it's because they want to change something. When they vote, they want to change something. That in fact, even when you go to work in the morning to go to your job, the whole point is that you're going to go change something. You're going to go fix what's broken. So, if we understand the Buddha's model is a change model, and yet many of the Western Buddhists think that it's not a change model at all, that what it is that it's a gaining to get something, to get an attainment, to get high meditation experiences, to get jhanas, to get nibbana, to get enlightened, to get sotapan, or to get a lot of stuff. And basically, the more stuff you have, the more stuff you have to carry around, and that's baggage. And so, in order to understand the teaching of the Buddha, you can see that it's not what we can get, it's what we can throw out because we don't need it. That experienced travelers, when they travel, they don't take much luggage. But I have seen people, the first time that they travel, they carry 3 or 4 bags more than they need. You can tell an experienced traveler because all they're going to carry on is the carry-on. And yet I have seen in airports people that the luggage took up more area room than the number of people who were traveling in that group. Big boxes of this, that, and the other thing, and putting that on an airplane. Well, that's the kind of mentality that we have, is that we've got a lot of stuff, and we're going to go get some more. More. That's what the entire Western tradition is all about. That whatever you've got, it ain't enough, and you got to go get some more. But with the teachings of the Buddha, we recognize that, in fact, we've already got too much crap. We've already got too much stuff. And we have to start making some plans and arrangements to get rid of the stuff that we don't really need, and figure out what it is that we really do need, and stay with that. So, with the start of it, the Buddha said, I think that we found now 5 different suttas in 5 different obtuse places, but one of them for sure that I know of is in the Majjhima Nikaya number 22, where the Buddha says he only teaches one thing. That's all he teaches is just one thing. If you can get it down to just one thing, I mean, algebra is really complicated. There's thousands of things. You got to learn about exponents. You got to learn about fractions. You got to learn about not just exponents, but also roots, square roots, third roots, cube roots, all of that kind of stuff. And then there is geometry with sine and cosine and tangent. It just goes on and on and on. But with the teaching of the Buddha, it's very, very, very simple. And the Buddha says that he teaches only one thing. And what is that one thing? He teaches what is called dukkha, dukkha nirodha, down to 3 words. And so one of the games that we play is, well, how can you say the entire teachings of the Buddha in as few words as possible? One of my favorites is, don't worry, be happy. Now that's the entire teaching of the Buddha right there. Don't worry, be happy. Or in the terms of dukkha, dukkha nirodha, what that means is that if you can see your dissatisfaction, if you can see what's unsatisfying, then drop it. Get away from it. Throw it out. Miss it. That if you actually threw out everything that was dissatisfying to you, number one, you wouldn't have much left. But number 2, you would now be satisfied because you threw out everything that was unsatisfactory. Wow. That's an amazing point, isn't it? To think about that if you just get rid of everything that's unsatisfying, then you will wind up being satisfied. Okay, so we can take it from there then, that the teachings of the Buddha is find out what it is that's unsatisfying and get rid of it. The dukkha is to see what's unsatisfying, and the dukkha nirodha is to drop it or get rid of it. Now, we can break this one term down, dukkha, dukkha nirodha, into the 4 Noble Truths. Because that's really all the Buddha teaches is the 4 Noble Truths, but we sum it up with just dukkha, dukkha nirodha. So the first Noble Truth is dukkha. What is dukkha? Dukkha, actually, the real definition of it is that it's unsatisfying, it's fulfilling. Now, we can see that in several big ways. One way that you can see dukkha is old age, sickness, and death. It is really unsatisfying to be shot, wounded, in great pain, then you die. That's not very satisfying. So this is what we call dukkha. Dukkha is dissatisfying. So a lot of people make the mistake that think that life itself is dukkha, and that's not correct. Life itself is not dukkha. Here's an example of it that I've seen that was a bumper sticker in the 1980s on cars. It says, life is shit, and then you die, or life sucks. Okay, well, let's take that point about life sucks. If you are sucking on something, then your life sucks. If you stop sucking, then life don't suck. And what is it that you're sucking? You're sucking on the things that you want. And if you don't want anything, you're not sucking on anything, and therefore life doesn't suck. So really, the disappointments and the suffering that we're talking about, the dukkha that we're talking about, is what we're doing, what we're thinking, not a reality of the situation. A lot of people would think that, oh, a fire, a natural disaster, a tsunami, that would be dukkha. But in the 2004 tsunami that they had in Thailand, all of the elephants, hours before that tsunami, broke free and went up into the hills. And yet all the Westerners were sitting on the beach wondering what was going on. So the elephants knew to get out of there, and the people didn't, especially the tourists. Oh, they like the beach, and so they're just going to stay on the beach. And the elephants knew that you need to get off the beach. You need to get out into the hills. So in that regard, the elephants, they didn't suffer when the big wave hit. But the people who did not see it, they're the ones who got hurt by it. So the whole teaching of the Buddha is to be able to see what is dukkha, to see the unsatisfactoriness of things, and to be able to do something about it. If you see big waves coming, head for the hills, and then you don't have to deal with the big waves. Now, we also understand that dukkha is actually a mental state, is our attitude about things. So we look at dukkha in the sense of the second noble truth, to say that the second noble truth means that suffering exists only because of three items. Basically, it's two items, and that is that we want things and we want to get rid of things. Now, wanting things and wanting to get rid of things are basically the same thing. If I want something, then I want to get rid of its absence. And if I don't want something, if I hate something, then I want it to disappear. So in fact, love and hate in this regard are all the same thing. The important point is if we're doing it in a stupid way or in an ignorant way. Because we can, in fact, want things wisely. And then when we get what we want wisely, then there is great benefit. Or we want to get rid of something stupidly, or we want to get something wisely. So the second noble truth really is all about can we recognize, can we see? Because if we can't see, then we will not be able to see our own greed and our own ill will. But if we can see our greed and our ill will, then we can do something about it. There's the change model. So, to sum up, the second noble truth is called greed, ill will, and delusion. You can also use the word ignorance, but there's two kinds of ignorance. One is what you would call a willful ignorance, and the other one would be a simple kind of ignorance. For instance, if you don't know something, then you don't know it. But delusion is when you think you know something when in fact you don't. You don't know it, but you believe something anyway. So all belief systems in this regard is ignorance. We make stuff up. We don't like to be ignorant. We don't like to be lacking of knowledge. And because we don't like to be lacking in knowledge, we think that, oh, I will feel better if I get knowledge. And in fact, no, you won't. Look at all the people who have tons and tons and tons of knowledge, and that knowledge doesn't make them happy. Then, in fact, it just gets them in the state of wanting more knowledge. And so they keep learning and keep learning and keep learning, but they're still dissatisfied. How can they come to the state of being satisfied? That's the question. That in fact, satisfaction sounds like a very simple thing. And we also think of it, but enlightenment, that's a very complicated thing. Oh no, satisfaction is not all of that easy to come by, but if you can become satisfied, then that's all there is to enlightenment. I mean, can you imagine somebody who claims to be enlightened and is still dissatisfied? What is he dissatisfied about, and how can he be enlightened if he's dissatisfied? But on the other hand, if someone is completely satisfied, then they don't want things. They don't even want to become enlightened. They're already satisfied with the way things are. So, from this perspective, we now then can move to the third noble truth, which is, well, what is it like to be satisfied? What's it like? Can you, in fact, reach a state of satisfaction? Well, we're going to talk about that because anyone here, in fact, several of them I see on the photos or the videos that I see, we've got several people who are already satisfied. They're just sitting here listening, having fun, all satisfied up. So satisfaction is actually fairly easy to come by. So let's talk about it in the sense of satisfaction is available to anybody at any particular point in time. Anybody can be satisfied. All they have to do is to put down the things that they're dissatisfied with. And that comes now to the fourth item on the Eightfold Noble Path, which is what we call the method or the path. Now, I have to point out something here is that when we call it the Eightfold Noble Path, that's actually a mistake that was made by the translators in the early days. It's not really a path. When we think of path, we talk about a bicycle path or a footpath or a path in the woods that has a destination. You're here and you take a path to get someplace. But in fact, the Eightfold Noble Path is not really a path at all. It's a method. So imagine it like this. If you think of it as a path, let's put it in the perspective of that it's a door. And all we need to do is open the door. But if the door is 1,000 miles away, then we've got to take a path to get to the door. Well, guess what? The door is just right here. There's no path to take to get to the door. All we need is the method to open the door, which means to turn the latch and to push. That's all there is to it. Okay? So, within the context of the Eightfold Noble Path, let's talk about it in the sense of the items on the path. We're going to talk about 4 of the items today. One of them is right view. Well, right view means can you see the dukkha? It's right viewing, and that many people think of it as a viewpoint, like a world view, or how I see things, which is basically nothing but a belief system. So we're not talking about views and viewpoints and that sort of thing, or a point of view. We're talking about it in the sense of a verb of looking, viewing, investigating. That there's a big difference between an investigation and an investigating, because an investigation is normally what they do with the investigating is that they write it up, they make a book out of it, they publish it, or put it into a file or something, and that's the investigation. It's something that's in the past, it's old. But we're not going to be doing it like that. We're going to keep it in the present moment of investigating. So that's the first one. The second one is called sati. Sati means the ability to remember basically to look at what you're doing, to remember to look. To look means to investigate or to see. So the 2 points are that you have to remember to look, because people look occasionally. They look at stuff a lot. But many times they're not looking when they need to look the most. They need to remember to look when you need to look. And we need to practice that. That sati is actually a skill to be developed as well as looking. Now, in the sense of the looking, the 3 kinds of skills, or the 3 ways of looking at the skill is that there's going to be some things that you want to change. Other things are going to be okay the way that they are, and some things you don't know. So, basically, what we're going to be looking for is with the quality of discernment, or we're going to be looking with a decision to make. And what is that decision that we're going to make? Is we're going to make the decision that this is dukkha. Or we're going to make the determination this is not dukkha. Or we're going to make the determination I'm not sure whether this is dukkha or not dukkha. Now, one of the things that we can think of then is that there are a few things that we can say is absolutely, we know for sure, is dukkha. Everybody here will let us say, if you disagree with this, then speak up. But here's things that we know for sure is dukkha. Thinking about killing your wife, to think about hurting her, to think about getting even with your boss, to think about breaking somebody's leg, to think about killing yourself. Would all of here agree that those are pretty unwholesome, those are dukkha, right? Now there's things that we can say is that we're for sure, absolutely without a doubt, are not dukkha. And that would be things like, wow, this is great. Everything's okay. Got no work to do. No place to go, nothing to do. Everything is easy. Now, are those wholesome? I mean, those are pretty satisfying kinds of statements. If you've got nothing to do, wow, what a relief that is. You got nothing to do. You got no place to go. Wow, that means that I don't have to get dressed and put shoes on and get into the motorbike or anything like that to go someplace because I got no place to go. So having some place to go is going to be dukkha. Not having any place to go is not dukkha. If we can see it from this perspective, now we can begin to look at it as how we're going to see this stuff in the mind. Because we've got two of the Eightfold Noble Path going right now is we're going to remember to look at the kind of thoughts that we're having. We're going to remember to look at the body. We're going to remember to look at how we feel. We're going to remember to look at what kind of state of mind we're in. So these are the big four: the body, the feelings, the state of mind, and the kind of thoughts that we have. This is called the Satipatthana in Buddhism. And each one of them is worthy of investigation. For instance, if the body is uncomfortable, then it's going to be hard to make the mind comfortable. So the first thing that we need to do is to get ourselves into a state, sitting down or whatever, where we're actually comfortable. And if we become uncomfortable, then we should shift our posture so that we become comfortable again. The same thing, by the way, is true with feelings. If we're having uncomfortable feelings, then we can shift those feelings so that we feel comfortable. We can also have it as a state of mind, that if we're in an uncomfortable state of mind, then we can shift that state of mind into a comfortable state of mind. Also, with the thoughts that we have, if we're having uncomfortable thoughts, then we can shift those into comfortable thoughts. So that shifting process that we're talking about is actually the third item on the Eightfold Noble Method or the Eightfold Noble Path, and that is to take the right effort to shift, to take the right effort to push, to take the right effort to move, to take the right effort to let go, to drop something. This is one's right effort. One's right effort, then, if we look at these kind of thoughts of, oh, I had an argument with my Aunt Susie and now I want to argue with her again, then that feeling of I want to argue with her again is an uncomfortable feeling. I got to go get even. She bested me in that argument. She came up with something that I couldn't respond to, but I've got an answer now, and boy, I'm going to go let her have it. Okay, these are the kind of thoughts that are actually uncomfortable. But if we instead change that thought to, wow, Aunt Susie's a great big good arguer. She can do a good job of that. I got to give her congratulations. She's really good at that. So we've subtly changed it from I've got to get even into giving her credit. Well, she's really good at that. That's the shift out of the unwholesome into the wholesome. And we can change any thought that we have to make it more wholesome. Then, in fact, one of the ways of thinking about it, any thought can be made more wholesome than it is. Any thought that you have can be improved. And then somebody comes by and says, well, I just had the absolute best thought possible. A thought that cannot be improved. It's so magnificent, so marvelous, so religious, so spiritual, so highfalutin, I couldn't possibly change that. And the answer is, oh, yes, you can. You can congratulate yourself for having had such a marvelous thought. And so every thought can be improved, especially in the sense of congratulating yourself for having done something marvelous. So, the three things that we're talking about now is to remember to look at what you're doing and then make a change to it. To look at what you're doing and to make a change means that we're going to look at what we're doing to see, is there any dissatisfaction in it? If there is any dissatisfaction in it, then we can change it. Go ahead, Roy. Yes, you've got a question.
I said every thought can be changed into a better thought, can be improved. And if my father want to break the relationship between me and him, so how can I change this kind of thought?
Scott, did you hear what he said? Can you help me? My hearing is not good.
I couldn't understand what he said either. I think you need to talk a little bit louder, Roy. Like a little more clear and slowly. I don't think your microphone is very good. Just
okay.
Repeat the question.
Ask your question short. Keep it short so that I can understand it. Try again.
Okay. I heard you said every thought can be improved, and
yes.
If my father wants to break the relationship between him and I, how can I improve these thoughts?
Well, that's a fairly complicated question that you're asking right off the bat, but the easy answer is, don't worry about your father. Don't worry about him.
In China, if yes. we don't care about our parents, we will be, no one.
No, wait a minute. You changed what I said. Let us put it this way. In China, you cannot disrespect your parents. And I have not told you about disrespecting them. What I'm saying instead is stop having negative thoughts about your father. Then, in fact, if you stopped having negative thoughts about him, you would start to respect him. So instead of saying, oh, my dad is this way and oh, my dad is that way, we can say that, never mind. He's at least my dad. I'm glad that he's my dad. And he's okay. That's a wholesome thing to say. That not liking your dad or wanting to show him something or prove something to him, that's dukkha. You're dissatisfied with your dad. Can you come to the point that you're satisfied with your dad?
But my father is really, it's easy to be angry, and he always shouting.
All right.
And I don't really like him.
Well, when he gets angry, you get angry too, right?
Yes.
Yes. When he is angry, you don't like him being angry, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, in this regard, can you at least say that when he's angry, he gets stuff done? No? Okay. Well, if we could not say that, let's say that when he is angry, at least he's still alive.
Yes, that's
right?
true.
Yeah, at least he's still alive. Aren't you glad your dad's alive?
No, my father won't kill me.
Well, he hasn't killed you yet, has he?
Yes.
All right, isn't that something? Wow, I'm glad that my dad hasn't killed me yet. Is a more wholesome thought than he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me is an unwholesome thought, but he hasn't killed me. That's a wholesome thought. If it's a wholesome thought, that's okay. That's what we're doing here. That in fact, what you're saying is that you're dissatisfied with your dad. He gets angry. Can you become satisfied with your dad, at least for a moment? I know that off in the future you're going to forget. You're not going to have the sati to look at the fact that you don't like your dad, and so you're going to continue to dislike him. But right now, because I'm prodding you, you can, in fact, say something good about your dad, right? Can you tell me something good about him?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, something good.
Can you think of something good about him? If you can say something, okay. So whenever you start to think about him in an angry way, whenever you're thinking about him that's making you dissatisfied, then you can come back and say to yourself, oh, he's okay. The next thing of it is that when we're sitting, let us say, in seclusion, when we're all by ourselves, your dad's not there, right? And here you are, even on our show right now, your dad's not here, is he? Yes, he is. He's here in your mind. And if you stop thinking about your dad, then he's not here. So if you can say, Dad, I really love you. Bye-bye. I'm not going to think about you right now. Then if you're not thinking about the dad, then dad's not here. That you brought him here in your own mind, in your own question. And you can send him away just like you brought him here with a thought. The thought is, oh, I'm not going to think about Dad. We're going to think about how can I have happy thoughts. And one happy thought that we can have is Dad's not here. Because he's not here now.
But if he is always, he always walking around me and this walking around me remind me of.
No, you're doing that yourself. Just because he's walking around doesn't remind you of him being angry. You remind yourself that he's angry, when in fact all he's doing is walking around.
My memory of my father is mostly not very good. So whenever I see him,
That's just what we're getting at now. Okay, so we're getting someplace. Maybe you're going to get to Dhamma in just one go if we can get this straight. Let's get this straight, okay? That when your dad's walking around or when he is not here, you still have the memories of he was angry. And you don't have to remember that he's angry. You don't have to have those memories. You can bring up things when he did something nice for you. He's probably been good to you in the past sometime or another, given you a gift, maybe for your birthday or on the New Year's celebration or whatever. He's given you something. I see you smiling, so he's done something nice.
Yeah, he do something nice, but all he did is I study. And
okay, so this is the way that we're going to take care of it then, is that you can start having nice thoughts by remembering what he did nice instead of remembering all the times that he was angry. Because his anger is in the past. That in fact, your memories of your dad in the past are causing you suffering right now. If you stop thinking about your dad, then you're not going to be so much suffering. Okay. So here's one more thing about that. Almost all Chinese men of your age hate their dad. Almost all Western guys, young adults, hate their dad. Kat, is that true for you? You've hated your dad in the past.
Master.
Yeah,
I
It's true to me too. Yeah,
it's very true.
I
it's
have to
true.
say, I I I see many normal parents, but my father and my mother is really different, and I don't think the West and the West parents and the Chinese parents is the same.
Okay.
It's
Can I say something real quick?
it's
So
really different.
what I hear you saying now, Roy, is I'm special. I'm special because my mom and my dad are special angry, and so I'm special. And one of the things that we're trying to point out to you here is that no, you're not special, not in that regard, because it's quite normal for young men to not like their moms and dads. But when you get older, you may like him more. In fact, you could probably start liking him more right now by remembering to like him more. But right now, you're in the habit of when you remember him, you don't like him. You're even going so far to say he's specially bad. Or in fact, he's probably not as. In fact, I'm pretty sure that he's not quite as bad about being angry as you say that he is, because I don't see any bruise marks. I don't see a black eye. I don't see where he's been beating you.
And he once break the dawn because I get up at 8 a.m. and he said I'm lazy, but not actually not, because the day I get up, the day before I get up, I cannot sleep, so I get up late. And he breaks the door, like he break door, and he
Okay.
beats me on the bed, and that's about 1 year ago, when I was adult.
Okay. Well, here's what I'm hearing right now. It's been a whole year since he's beaten you on the back. Did anybody else hear that? It's been a year since he's hit you on the back. You said it was about a year ago, which is what I'm hearing is that today he's not beating you on the back. Is that a good thing?
Yes, that's a good thing.
Yeah, okay. Now you're beginning to hear what I'm saying. You need to start. The way to talk about it in this regard is you can forgive him for all of the bad behaviors that he's had in the past and forget about it. And when he comes pounding on your door, let him pound. That's what he wants to do. That you don't have to feel bad because he's pounding on the door. That you're choosing to feel bad because of your old memories of him, that he's always been angry or whatever like that you're having to say. He beat me a long time ago. Therefore, I consider him bad today. But today he hasn't beaten you. Can you give him credit for that? Wow, I'm really glad he didn't beat me today. And that's a wholesome thought. When you talk about it, oh, he beat me last year. That's an unwholesome thought. But a wholesome thought would be, oh, he didn't beat me today. And this is what really the teachings of the Buddha is all about, is to come out of the past and to come out of the future and to come into this present moment. That right now, Dad is not in the room with you. But right now, Dad is in your mind with you. And we could start talking about unicorns. We could start talking about Ferris wheels. We could talk about other kinds of things. And then you forget all about your dad for a few minutes and he's not there. And then you'll remember something about your dad and you'll go back into bad feelings. So the easy way for you to start practicing Anapanasati, which we're going to be talking about, in fact, we're already talking about it, is to not think about your dad. Give yourself permission whenever thoughts about your dad come. Sorry, I'm not going to think about dad. I'm not going to think about him being angry. I'm not going to think about him pounding on the door. I'm not going to think about any of that kind of stuff. I'm going to start thinking about something that's happy and pleasant instead. The Buddha calls this in the Pali, it's kusala and akusala, and we translate that into English as wholesome versus unwholesome. What do we mean by unwholesome? Means that it takes away, that it distracts, it makes things worse. And wholesome means that we're putting it back together. We're bringing it back whole again. And so right now there's a division between you and your dad, that you've broken it apart. And the way that you can see that then is that then your thoughts of him are not wholesome. And you can start thinking about him with wholesome thoughts. Now we're using the example of dad, but we can do that with anything. How about visa to Thailand? That's something that we can have a lot of unwholesome thoughts about, those who are in Thailand. Okay? We can think of unwholesome thoughts about politics. Or we can think about wholesome thoughts about politics. One of the wholesome thoughts that we can think about politics is, wow, isn't politics funny? All of those people running around trying to fix things they don't know how to fix, and they wind up making themselves even more trouble. Ha ha, I don't care about politics. Okay? So, whatever it is that you're thinking about, recognize that that thought can be improved. Like the thought, my dad beat me last year, can be turned into, wow, he hasn't beaten me. Not in a long time.
I think I got your idea, Dhammarato.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So now what we're really looking at is that if we can change it, then we're looking for a few things. One of the things that we can begin to see is, I use the word comfort. If your body can be comfortable, can your mind be comfortable? That in fact, if your body is in a safe place, like on the porch of a hut, or maybe on a room that you're in, or maybe out in the woods when nobody else is around, the body is in a safe condition. If the body's safe, how can we begin to feel safe? The answer to that is by talking about safe. We start having thoughts of being safe. With the body actually being safe, we can begin to feel safe. And in fact, if you're having thoughts about your dad being angry, when you're having those thoughts, you don't feel safe. But we can say instead, wow, dad's not here. I can feel safe. I feel safe right now. I can feel safe. Can you feel safe? Does everybody feel safe right now? Anybody feel fearful? Or can you feel safe? If you can feel safe and you can feel secure and you can feel comfortable, then it's a very short journey then to feel satisfied. Isn't that amazing? It's a very, very short journey. Go from safe and secure to comfort and then to satisfaction. That's all there is to the teaching of the Buddha. Right there. We can change our unsatisfactoriness into satisfaction. We can change it by feeling comfortable. If we have uncomfortable thoughts, we change the uncomfortable thoughts to comfortable thoughts. If we have thoughts of being danger, we can change those thoughts from danger into having thoughts of feeling secure. Everything's okay. That's a secure thought. Everything is all right. Not a problem, not a worry in the world. Those are helping us feel safe. Roy, can you say that? Can you say, well, I don't have any problems. I don't have any worries. Everything is okay right now.
No, I can't.
All right. I bet you could if you would let yourself. Right now, I mean, is there anybody in the room with you? Do you
No.
have any snakes on the floor?
Right now, I can feel.
Okay, for right now, that's all we're talking about. We're not talking about in the future. Let's let the future worry about itself. Let's say for right now, can you feel safe? By
Yes.
saying, I got nothing to do. I got no place to go. Everything is okay right now. Can you say
Yes.
everything is okay right now?
Actually, I want to go to peace.
Well, you don't have to go to sleep right now. Instead, you can say to yourself and let yourself know that everything is okay right now.
Yes, everything is okay right now.
Everything is okay right now. If you can still say that over and over again, you'll begin to feel like everything is okay. But you have to keep saying that everything is okay, because normally what happens is you'll just say everything is okay, and then you'll say, well, except for this and that and the other thing, and I'm tired, and my dad's going to pound on the door someday, and maybe he'll beat me in the backs. You know, all of that is back into the unwholesome. Let's go with just the wholesome thoughts to start seeing that we can change our thoughts, that we don't have to have negative thoughts. We can start to have happy, positive, wholesome thoughts. Everything is all right. Everything is fine. Not a worry in the world. I can do this. We're beginning to develop what we would call a can-do attitude. I can feel comfortable. I can feel safe. I can be satisfied. All I have to do is stop wanting to change things on the outside and change a little bit of stuff on the inside. What are we going to change? Our attitude. We're going to change our way of doing it. A way of saying it, in fact, is to gladden the mind, to brighten the mind, to have brightening and gladdening thoughts. Like everything's going to be all right. Everything is all right. Everything is fine. Not a worry in the world. No place to go, nothing to do. The spring comes and the grass grows all by itself. Everything is okay. But we have to practice this. This is where this next component comes in, is we have to practice, because we're almost always in such a bad mood that that bad mood will come back very easy. And so we have to catch it and say, aha, I see that. Aha, I see that bad mood. Then we can change it. But I'm not in a bad mood. I don't have to be in a bad mood. I'm okay. There's nothing to do and nothing to go with. Got no place to go. I can sit here and be satisfied. If you practice that 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, you'll get successful at it. You'll begin to see, wait a minute, I can change my mind. When I have thoughts about my dad being angry, I can say, but he's not here now. He's not angry right now. I can let that past go. I can be here in the present moment, and everything right now is good enough. And we can get into a state of satisfaction. Everything is good enough right now. That's what we have to practice. Good enough. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, but I don't know all the techniques. I don't know all of the various things about meditation. The answer to that, you don't need any of that. All you need to do instead is to just be satisfied right here, right now. You don't need to know too much. You don't need to figure things out. You don't need to do anything about your dad, because he's not here right now. When he's with you, there are things to do, and we can talk about that. But the important point is, when he is not here, why do you bring him here? If Donald Trump is not here, why should we bring him here? If the Xi is in Peking, he's not here. Let's leave him there. We don't have to bring him here and talk about him. We can just leave it. and come back and start talking about what is here, what is real. And your past is not real, it's dead. It doesn't exist. But we keep bringing up the past, we keep remembering the past, we try to see the past and the future as the same. And in fact, the future is not the same as the past. And both of them are missing a very important point, and that's reality. The past is not real, the future is not real, but right here, right now, guess what? It's real. If we can stay with real, with what's happening right now, we can be satisfied. You can be satisfied right now. For instance, your dad's not here. Isn't that satisfying? Isn't that marvelous? He's not here. Wow, what a relief it is he's not here. And so you can congratulate yourself. Wow, I'm so happy I can be here right now because I don't have to think about all the worries, all the cares, all the flurries. I don't have to think about that. I can think about what's happening right here, right now, and everything is hunky-dory. Everything is easy peasy. Everything is good enough right now. That's the basic teaching, is to come to a state where things are satisfying, when they're satisfactory. Now, let's go back to the original point that the entire teaching of the Buddha is dukkha, dukkha nirodha. Well, dukkha is unsatisfactory, and we keep having unsatisfactory thoughts, just like you're saying that your dad's angry. That's an unsatisfactory thought. You don't like it. It's not satisfying to you that your dad gets angry. But guess what? That's just a thought in your head. Dad gets angry. It's just a thought in your head. If you don't have that thought in your head, then you don't have to be in a state of dissatisfaction. It's unsatisfying to think, oh, Dad's angry. But if you have the thought, he's not here now. He's not here. If he's not here, then things can be satisfying, satisfactory. And guess what? Right then and there, we have just fulfilled the teachings of the Buddha. Not for the long haul. We're not talking about the future. We're talking about right this very moment. Can we get ourselves into a state of satisfaction? Right now, everything is good enough. Right now, everything is good enough. This is the practice. And if you practice this over and over and over again, then we can begin to build an attitude change. And the attitude is, I can feel safe. I can feel good. I can feel satisfied. And when we do that, when we have that I can feel satisfied, guess what? We're adding a new ingredient, and that would we'd be calling success. I've become successful at being satisfied because I can do it. And if I can do it, and I know that I can do it, then it doesn't matter how obsessed my mind gets. Even if Dad is arguing with me and yelling at me right in my face, I don't have to feel bad when he's doing that. I have a choice. And if I practice, you see, if you can throw his anger out of your mind when you're alone, and keep throwing it out when you're alone, then you can throw the anger that he has right in your face out also, even when he's angry at you. You can say, oh, that's okay. I'm not worried about Dad right now. And you could be happy and satisfied even while he's yelling at you. Now, a lot of people say, well, I haven't practiced that much yet. But that's the way that we're going to practice. You're going to start practicing so that even if your dad gets angry at you, even if he comes pounding on the door, that's okay. I'm satisfied with that too. Even if the country of China is falling apart because of bad government policies, that's okay. Everything's going to be all right. Because remember, it's not your feelings that's going to change China. You can feel good, and China's not going to change according to the way that you want it to change. And if you feel bad and want it to change, It's not going to change because you want it to change. So changing China is not an option. What is an option? To change your mind. So that if China is okay, I'm okay. If China's not okay, I'm still okay. That's your choice. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dhammarato. I know your idea, and it really solved my problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it solved your problem right now because I'm harping on it and getting you to make the point. The question is can you get the point tomorrow? Can you remember this tomorrow?
Yeah, I can keep it tomorrow.
All right. This is actually what we mean by practice. We have to practice this because it's going to be very easy for you to forget. That 10 minutes after this video is finished, you'll probably be right back into negative thoughts about your dad. Can you catch yourself when you do that? This is what practicing meditation is all about. This is why people practice meditation, is because they're not very good at remembering what to do. They know what to do. They just forget to do it.
I think I won't forget it.
You will, because you're in the habit.
I think I will not forget it.
All right. So here's a way that we can do that. I'm going to give you an exercise that only lasts about 5 or 10 minutes. Your choice, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If you can get yourself into a really good, happy state in 10 minutes, then that's good. If you can do it in 5 minutes, then take 5. Okay? But you're going to actually take 5 minutes where you're going to be in seclusion, you're going to be alone, you're going to be away from everybody else, and you're going to practice remembering. You're going to practice remembering and practice having good, wholesome thoughts. What are we going to practice on? We're going to practice on the breathing. You're going to remember when it's an in-breath. If this is an in-breath, remember that it's an in-breath, and we're going to make it long to help us remember. So instead of taking a short breath, we're going to take a long breath. And then we're going to remember to take an out breath that's long. And we start taking longer breaths in and longer breaths out because we have to remember. If you don't remember, if you stop remembering, then the breathing will go back normal. Just like if you stop remembering to practice having wholesome thoughts, then you will automatically go back to unwholesome thoughts. That's the habit. That's your default. Your default position is to breathe shallow, to have unwholesome thoughts, and to feel bad. That's the basic default position for all of humanity. And how we're going to get out of that is by remembering to practice having a good, strong breath, to practice to have good, strong, wholesome thoughts over and over again. And I'm only saying do this for 10 minutes. But do it for 5 or 6 times a day. A good time to do it would be when you first wake up in the morning, even before you get out of bed. Can you have wholesome, happy thoughts about, wow, today's going to be a great day. I'm going to get so much done. Everything is going to be okay. Wow, I'm ready for this kind of day. And that's the kind of thoughts that you can have before you even get out of bed. So you can spend 5 or 10 minutes in the bed saying, this is going to be a wonderful day. Everything is going to be happy. I can handle my dad easy today. I'm not going to have any troubles with him at all. And then in the evening time, when we go to sleep, a lot of people say, I've got to get to sleep because I got to do stuff tomorrow. And so they start thinking about the stuff that they've got to do. A much better way to go to sleep is by laying there in the bed saying, wow, this is really nice. What a really, really wonderful moment. I could just lay here and be happy with no place to go and nothing to do. I don't have to sleep. I don't have to get up early. I don't have to work tomorrow. I can just lay here and be happy right now. Dad's not in the bed with me. I don't have to have him in my mind either. I could just have happy thoughts while I'm in bed, getting ready to go to sleep. So that's 2 times a day. You can come up with 3 or 4 more when you're on break in the morning at work or when you're at lunch. You can set your lunch down and says, wow, what a satisfying lunch that was. And I can sit here and just breathe in and out and just feel good for a little while. So a lot of people want to practice meditation for an hour a day. I don't recommend sitting and trying to do it for an hour. Just 5 or 10 minutes is enough, but you got to practice over and over and over again, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Take 10 minutes and breathe well and be happy and satisfied. So, Roy, you got your hand up. I'll take your point now.
I have not point. I want to say I'm agree with you. Yeah, you said is right.
Okay.
It's correct. And forgive about my English expressing. I'm not that good at English speaking.
That's not a problem. If
Yeah.
I can understand, if you keep it very short, I'll understand you. So
Yeah.
I think that you've gotten the point now that you got to go practice feeling good.
Yeah.
Because if we don't practice feeling good, we'll go back to feeling bad. That's our habit.
Yeah. Make it a habit.
Yeah, we have to make feeling good a habit.
Oh, I get you. I know your idea. Yeah. Thank
Okay. You can feel good and you can develop it as a habit. When it becomes a habit, you know you can do it. And you've got the confidence to do it.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I have something to do, so I might leave this.
All right. Well, to hang on for just 2, 3, 4 minutes because we're about to finish up anyway because you've gotten the point already. Jamie, do you have anything to say about what we're talking about today? How about you? Does anybody know how to pronounce his name? No. There's Jeremy. Okay. Yes, Jamie, I'm listening.
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any comments.
Okay, very good. So, Neosi, how do you pronounce your name? Your microphone is on. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's Niche. Yeah. That's his,
Okay.
that's how you say it. I don't think
Good
he
to
has
see you, Dhammarato. Long time no see.
All right. Okay. So, Pedro, do you have any comments?
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. It's thank you for this. In Italian is ripasso, which is the repetition of the basis. It's very useful. Very useful.
Yes,
I
it
really
is.
appreciate this. I got my mind more straightened out a little bit more. Yes.
All right, guys. How about you, Kath? Do you have anything to say, or Scott?
I'm on the same page as Pietro. I'm happy to hear the basics again, basics and everything.
I feel good. I feel pretty good.
Great. All right, guys. Well, thank you for this call. This has been a really great call. Roy, I think that you're getting it. You're getting the basics. That's the important thing is that can you change your mind so that you can be happy right now?
Thank you, Roy, for asking questions. So, thank you.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, let's finish the call now. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Okay.
See you all. Have a great day.
Yes, everybody have a great day.